Hi, this is Belinda Colubriale and this is Talking High Performance with Belle. So I'm making this podcast for people who want to live their best life, people who know that there's more in them, but they just don't know how to get it. So there's a gap, something's missing, I'm making it for them. Hey, it's Belle. I hope you're having a good week and I hope it started off better than mine. My coffee machine broke down. So when my coffee machine breaks down, I feel like my mindset and the control over that also breaks down. So good news is we've got a new machine now, but it was a stressful couple of days. So I hope your week has started off better than mine. So let's talk about control and I'll take a little bit of my own advice. So let's jump straight in. So I want you to ask yourself today, do you have control? So I've shared a little bit about, the past few days in my life, but, we're on the up now, which is great. But in your life, do you have control? And I want to ask by getting you to think about what I'm about to say and answering the questions in your mind. So do you feel that you are in control of your overall life right now? So do you feel like you're in the driver's seat and that you have a strong handle on your life? So just, mentally go, yes, I do, or no, I don't. Do you feel like you're progressing with confidence and you're showing up courageously? And do you feel like you have the ability to bounce back when things get tough and continue moving forward with strength? Now, I use the example with my coffee machine, pretty simple example, but in life in general, do you feel like you're in control of those areas? And do you feel like you're in control of, what's happening, what's happened, and also what you're going through at the moment? And the way you answer these questions in your head will give you a pretty good sense of where you are in regards to control at the moment. So that's the first part that I just want you to think about. And when we think about control, I want to talk about why it's important. And it's so important in so many different aspects of our lives, but I want to break it down into a few of the main reasons. And the first one is having control over our thoughts, over our emotions, and over our behaviors helps us to grow as a person. So it helps us to go that, we can overcome obstacles. We can take on new challenges, and learn how to use the new buttons on the coffee machine. We can achieve our goals, and we know that sometimes things just aren't going to work. So I think, I talk about overcoming obstacles so often, but it helps with so many areas of our lives, whether it's resilience, whether it's control, whether it's building courage. Being able to take on challenges helps in so many different areas, and knowing that we're in control of how we're thinking and how we're feeling is a really important part of that. It also helps us to reduce anxiety and stress. So when we know that we can't control what's happening in the external world, but we have complete control over our internal behaviors, that's really empowering. And it helps to reduce stress because we can look at things and go, that's not great, or that person didn't show up ideally, but we can't control that. What we can control is our reaction to it and what we need to do from our end. And that's really important. And another reason is having control helps us to improve relationships. So when we have control, we're better able to be less reactive or, increase that timing between, hearing what someone says and not agreeing and reacting. And sometimes, it doesn't work. Like I can say to myself in my head, I'm not going to get upset at the kids. I'm not going to get upset at the kids. I'm not going to get upset. And then something happens and you snap. Or, you can go, okay, that person's shown up late to work 10 times. I'm going to be patient. I'm going to see what their struggles are. But then sometimes you go, it's not good enough. And you react maybe in a way that you don't want to. And it shows up in so many different areas of our lives. And so many of my clients, when they're, dealing with their staff, things that frustrate them, things that are repetitive patterns that keep showing up. But at some stage, we have to look at ourselves and go, okay, why does this keep happening? Is there something that I'm not doing from my end that could be better? Do I need to set a boundary? Do I need to change my approach to something? And often, we don't do that, but we have the control to do that, to change the outcome of what's happening. And that's really important. And, having control over conversations, having control over even how we manage our kids, and going, okay, if I sleep on this, I'm not sure of the answer. Maybe in the morning, my reaction is going to be a lot better. So that's another reason why control is really important. Another reason is it helps to increase our productivity. So as a high performer, when we feel like we're in control and we have a sense of focus, our productivity increases. So we know what we're doing, we know where we want to go, we know the steps that we need to put in place, and it helps us to get really clear. Whether it's, trying something new on the market, whether it's, talking to our staff in order for them to improve their performance, whether it's getting really focused and honing in on, these are some KPIs that I need in order for my store to do better, and how do I get my team aligned? When we're really clear on the direction that we want, it's much easier to improve performance, whether that's individually or whether that's for a team. And the last reason is control helps with overall happiness. So when we're in control, when we feel like we're in the driver's seat, it's really, really easy, or it's much easier to feel empowered. So many people feel disempowered, and often it's because of external circumstances, the way other people are behaving. And sometimes there are things that, we feel that we don't have control over that we can't avoid. Health issues, people passing. But most of the time we are in control of our thoughts and of our emotions, and that should be really empowering, because we can go, I want more of this in my life. This has worked really well. And we can also go, no, that doesn't feel too good. Why do I feel that way, and how do I reduce that? So that's really important. So I want to give you today 5 ways to take back control in your life that will help you get to the next level. And the first way is to distinguish between what you can and what you can't control. And, during COVID, we experienced this a lot. People were worrying about what we couldn't control and getting really frustrated about it. Whereas my hubby and I, we kind of had the view, it's frustrating, but we couldn't control the outcome. So we go, this is what we can control, the environment at home. We can control, when we go for walks, we can control what we're doing with the kids at home. We can control, movie nights that we've still kept going on a Friday night after COVID, but it's working out what is and what isn't worth controlling and putting your energy there. So that's a really empowering way to feel like you're in control in a situation that maybe is not ideal. So work out what can you control and what can't you control. Another example of that is recently we thought my daughter might have Crohn's, my eldest daughter. And so she was getting pretty unwell, losing weight. And she did some tests, and the doctors thought she had Crohn's, and we had to go see a specialist. I'm going to try and say the name of gastroendocrinologist, something like that. But we went and saw one. But in the meantime, I thought, no, we haven't tried everything. So took her to a naturopath, tried some different things, tweaked her diet. And in the meantime, she was getting better. But until we got those results, we had the same approach. If she has Crohn's, we'll manage it. It's not in our control. Luckily for us, she didn't. And it was just dietary changes. But for that interim period, I kept telling myself, we're just going to work it out. If she's got it, we'll just help her manage it, and we'll work it out, whatever it is, because we can't control the outcome of that. And that really felt empowering to know that, in life, what was I worrying about? I was worrying about if she had Crohn's. Can I control it? No. So then what can we control? And we can control what we do around that. So that was really empowering. So another way to take back control is that we can control what makes us feel fulfilled. So what do I mean by that? Too often, I think we hear others complaining, or we complain ourselves, whether it's, a job, a relationship, a life circumstance, and we don't make proactive steps to change that. So, we don't make steps to change because we're normally afraid of what we'll lose, what the process will be like, and also what's on the other side of that. What's the outcome going to be like? Is the grass going to be greener on the other side? And we're in complete control, I believe, and I believe strongly that of how happy we are. So if you're unhappy in a job, there are people that you see, and you could see them every 6 months, and they're really unhappy in their job, but they're more than happy to complain about being unhappy in their job. And it's frustrating, right? Because you're like, and as me, I just want to say, change jobs. You just want to, but you have to understand that from that person, it could be the financial security that it provides for their family, or it could be, they're scared to jump, or it could be sometimes other people telling them, you don't know what's going to happen on the other side. But if you're unhappy about a job, for example, that you're in, my recommendation would be work out what is the best option possible for you. If the best option is I have a job that I love, great. What's on the flip side of that? I resign, I find a job that I don't like, and I can never find another job again. Okay, that's not so good. But what is in the middle? So if you come up with a whole lot of options and go, you know what, I don't want to complain about my job every day, but I'm too scared to jump. What's in the middle? And it might just be making tweaks at work. It might just be going, okay, how do I make the best of what I feel is an average situation, and changing your mindset around that? Because when you complain about a job constantly, you're just empowering yourself. And I feel that's where you lose control. So find something that makes you feel fulfilled. But if you're not willing to take that chance, and we're using a job as an example, but there's many in life, then work out, how do I tweak it in the meantime to make it a little bit better than what I'm feeling now? So the third thing that we can control is we can control our behaviour. And, I think as parents, this is a constant work in progress, especially, when they're driving you nuts. And it's easy to go down, the same path at work. But ultimately, we want to get to a stage where it doesn't matter if you have, children that are carrying on at home. It doesn't matter if, they're bringing their behaviour home from school. We're strong enough within ourselves to go, you know what, it's frustrating, they're having a bad day. What can I control? And sometimes you can control their behaviour. Other times you just can't, especially depending on their ages. But how do you work around that in order to feel like internally you're in control? So I think a good way to do this is to go, okay, how do I view this situation differently? And whether this is in the workplace, whether this is at home, and a way to do it could be, okay, one of your kids has come home from school in a bad mood. Okay, if you were them, how would they be perceiving the situation? Maybe this is their safe place. Maybe this is where they feel like they can, let loose, or, just sit on the couch, or be a bit grumpy, or, and sometimes things don't go to plan, or they don't show up in the ideal way. And even as parents, sometimes we do the same. But when it's our kids, looking at it and going, okay, how can we view the situation differently? Because maybe it's a small problem in our eyes. Maybe it's a big problem in their eyes. So how do we control our behaviour in order to help them get through what's to them is a difficult part of the day? Or how do we, choose to ignore them and approach it later, so we can control how we react around certain things as well. Point 4 is to control our future outlook. So when you think about your future, how excited are you? So are you excited to do the same job for the next 10, 20, 30 years? If you are, great. If not, what needs to change? Are you excited to live in the same house for the next 10, 20, 30 years? If you are, great. If not, what needs to change? And sometimes this comes back to the same point that I mentioned before. We're really happy to say how unhappy we are. Mm-hmm. Whereas instead of going, what, I can control things. If I plan to be, here for the next decade, 2 decades, 3 decades, what do I want? What do I want to create where I don't feel trapped, where I feel like I'm in control? And what you're in control of changes. And this is the same. In life, things change. When you're new at a job, what you can control changes to 10 years down the track. When you have a family and they're young, what your outlook for the future looks different in that 5-year period than what it does as your kids get bigger. And the same, the freedom that you have then changes. And when I was going through postnatal, I had to tell myself this future that I was envisioning in my head, which wasn't so great, this is not good, and I need to change it so I don't feel trapped. And so we tweaked and we changed, and I had to remind myself, no, stay positive. This is part of the journey. You've got 4, young, healthy, happy kids. And I had to tweak it and go, okay, what does my future look like now, where I feel like I can enjoy the family life, but also bring that professional aspect that was so important to me back as well, also with a bit of my personality and some freedom. So changing and feeling in control of our future outlook is really, really important. And sometimes we need to review this along the journey. And the last point, to take back control or to feel like you're in control, is to bring something new into your life. So we know that when we learn new skills or we're doing something different, it's really exciting. So our mindset's normally more positive, we're more engaged and more excited. And it makes us feel really purposeful. And when we feel purposeful, we feel like we're in control. So if you think about your life, what is something new that you would like to do, or a skill that you'd like to develop, and put it in your calendar. By this date, I want to develop this skill, because that helps us feel like we're in control and it helps us to stay motivated. So as I end today, I want to end with, talking a little bit about self-reflection. So in your life, how do you take back control and how do you start to act in a way where you feel like you're in charge of what's happening? So I want you to think about these 3 areas of your life and think about what is a way in each of these areas that you can begin to take back control. The first area is your thoughts. So what is a thought that you've had in the past or that you constantly have that you want to change the outcome of? So, if I think about me with postnatal, I knew that there were thoughts that I needed to change the outcome of there. And I worked with people and read books and listened to lots of podcasts and things to help me change that thought process. And the thing that helped me the most was having a coach to help me work through that. So what is your thought that isn't serving you at the moment, and how do you begin to take control of that thought? Step 2 is your finances. And there's been a lot, around cost of living in 2023 and finances this year. So if you can take back control just in one small area when it comes to your finances, what would you do and how would it be different? And this could be buying lunch 2 times a week instead of 5 times a week at work. This could be, looking around for different interest rates. This could be, setting up a savings account that money goes directly into. But with your finances, what's one way that you can take back control? And the third area is with your relationships. Where do you feel that you've lost control in a relationship that you have? So maybe it's something simple like being proactive and organising a date night. Maybe it's having a conversation that you've been putting off with someone, or maybe it's just messaging a friend that you haven't spoken to in a while. Where do you feel like you can begin to take back some control when it comes to your relationship? So they're 3 small points of self-reflection that I feel are really important in just starting to help you feel like you're getting some control in some areas of your life. So there you have it, why control is important and why it's important to make that distinction for ourselves and distinguish what we can and can't control and how much emphasis we allow it to have on our mindset moving forward. So in order for us to take back control of our lives and to feel like we're in the driver's seat. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, please don't forget to subscribe, and I'll chat to you next week where we'll be talking about making change your ally, not your enemy. Something that personally I've had to do a lot of personal development work on myself over the years. Until next time, live a successful, purposeful and fully charged life. Your coach, Belle.